Hello, thank you for listening to A Glimpse of the Kingdom. I am David Pendergrass. In this series on healthy marriage, I'm covering what I think to be are 5 of maybe the major healthy beliefs people ought to have a healthy Christian marriage, and 5 healthy practices or healthy habits that a Christian or Christians ought to have a healthy Christian marriage. So healthy beliefs, healthy habits. I've covered the 5 beliefs already. Now I'm going to introduce you to healthy habits or healthy practices. So healthy habit number 1. Healthy marriages involve both spouses practicing the habit of using one chief criterion in their decisions. When they move from WIFM to WIFU, that's an acronym. WIFM to WIFU. WIFM, W-I-I-F-M, what's in it for me? To WIFU, what's in it for us? What's in it for me is the default stance of the single person. The default stance of the single person. Think about that. And it's normal, it's healthy, since we should always be concerned with our own needs. When that's good. What's in it for me can be healthy. The problem is if you had to be real specific, it's what's in it only for me. When you're saying when it's only for me, you're being selfish. Maybe that'd be with OFOM. And when marriages have one or both persons adopt this position during the marriage, it will hurt the marriage. You will have an unhealthy marriage. What's in it for us must be one of the chief criteria you employ when making decisions. Now, so I just want to pause there for a second. If you're in a relationship, in a marriage, or when you make decisions, you chiefly, and that's, as usual, I keep saying chiefly or dominantly, use that criterion as what's in it for me. You're living like a single person. You're not living like a healthy married person. Married people deliberately make decisions thinking, how does this affect the other person? How does it affect us together? How does it affect the family? That doesn't mean every single decision you always make in life once you're married is, how does this affect my spouse? How does this affect, I need to go to the restroom. How does this affect my spouse? I want tacos or pizza. How does this affect my spouse? It's not everything. It's just in general. If a decision of the spouses is that way, if a decision affects the spouses or the family, you should be asking that question. Now, when you say what's in it for us, it doesn't mean you have bad boundaries. It doesn't mean you don't have a self. It doesn't mean you no longer stand up for yourself, for your own values, identity. It means that you're incessantly aware that many decisions that you make affect the marriage. Your spouse should never need to say, why in the world didn't you ask me that first? Or why in the world didn't you tell me that? Now, like I said, if it's about nonsense, like if you ate pizza or fish, then ask your spouse why he or she has to be told every little thing you do. You don't have to be told every little thing you do, but you do need to be told a lot of things. For example, spouses, when they make decisions, they should always make decisions together on things like what you purchase, major purchases. Now, spouses negotiate. They negotiate to figure out what constitutes a major purchase. In my own marriage, anything over $20.75 is, I'm just kidding. We don't have an exact number. My wife is more to ask me almost anything. If it's over $5, $10, she asks me, to which I always say, baby, you don't need to ask me all the time. But of course, I'm the one who handles the money the most. But usually if something's over maybe a couple $100, I at least run things by. Even though I handle all the money, even though I know whether or not we can afford it, I still ask Elaine. I say, here's what I'm thinking. And now maybe it's a big surprise for birthday for her. I don't do that, of course, but it's for us. I ask because that's it. It doesn't matter if we've got $1 billion in the account, which we do. We have $1 billion in our checking account, and of course not. But it wouldn't matter how much is there. I want my wife to know these kind of purchases. That's one thing. It's shocking. I've met couples where the husband comes home with a boat or whatever it is. Some big purchase, and never told the spouse. Just never told them. That's not good. That's not a healthy thing. Money is almost always associated with some people with prestige and so forth, but at its root, money is associated with safety. And when you're dealing with someone's safety, whether they can buy food, have shelter, safety is a good, healthy need of the couple. And so you want to make sure money is financial decisions. So you're asking what's in it for us. How does this affect us as a couple? How much you spend in general, of course, like what you purchase, how much you spend, what you tell your children. Decide that. You talk about in life before I start telling my kids all about my past or my spouse's past or about drugs or sex and rock and roll and Christianity, religion, whatever it might be. Talk about with your spouse what you tell them and when you tell them, what jobs you take or you leave in your marriage. What relationships you maintain or end. If that affects the marriage, you need to tell the marriage. You need to tell your spouse. I've had friends, they're married, and I've heard them, we'd be over for dinner, and they would say, oh, by the way, honey, I'm applying for jobs, or I took that job, or I'm going to another interview, and the person didn't even know they were looking. I mean, it's just stuff like that they're like, whoa, and they kind of laugh, but kind of look frustrated, like, well, I'm glad you told me now. They'll kind of laugh it off. And that happens fairly common in this one particular marriage. But, I mean, they just live like they're single. And it's almost as if it's fun or kind of cool to have some surprise. Oh, by the way, I'm doing this or I did this. It just is not healthy communication. It's not at all. That's really it for this one. I'll give you some really important here in just a second. My first major point is really the only major point of this podcast is when you go to make decisions in marriage about things at all, keep thinking, how does this affect me? And you are living like a single person. You're not going to have a healthy marriage. If you say, how does this affect us? What's in this for us? You are much, much more likely to have a healthy relationship and healthy communication. Now, before I finish up, I want to give you this. Here are some tips when you need to negotiate an issue, especially one that's a big deal. Now, my first point on this one is you do need to negotiate. Sometimes negotiation is, you might say it's over something silly. It doesn't really matter. I mean, frankly, it doesn't matter at all if you think it's silly or not. If you think you need to negotiate, you need to negotiate. And let me give an example of the negotiation of things that come up in counseling all the time with me. And to show you that they're not really, however silly it might seem, it's not silly. And then, of course, we'll talk about what you do when there's something is a really big deal, and you talk about that. But things that might seem silly, they really are not, is how orderly is the room. See, for example, some people have a high tolerance for disorder. Some have a very low tolerance for disorder. I've counseled couples where the wife had a very high tolerance for disorder. He did not. And so she was able to be a lot more messier, and it would drive him crazy. And they also have a lot of kids, and she'd had other, traits and stuff that he loved, things he didn't like at all, and vice versa. I mean, vice versa, that's how it is when you're married for years and years, a lot of kids and all that stuff. And so we had to negotiate. Can you keep his side of the room? Can you make sure you don't keep stuff on his side of the room where he sleeps? Like at minimum. And she said yes. And so that was one thing where she didn't leave anything on his side of the room. Or sometimes she would do that with children, but the same thing with adults. Just sometimes negotiating little things like that. Sometimes if people don't leave their toothpaste on, the lid on the toothpaste, and that just drives you crazy. Well, you might need counseling if it drives you crazy. But maybe there's other kind of messy things that for you're like, man, I can't live like this. Well, negotiate that. But my tip for you right now is, when you're thinking, how does this affect us? This will greatly reduce how much this happens. For example, if you're the person who leaves the toothpaste lid off, or leaves your dirty socks on the ground or whatever, if you're that person and your decisions to leave your mess strewn around is affecting the marriage relationship that much, then you're thinking, what's in it for me? You're not thinking what's in it for us. You might be thinking, I just don't want to do it. Maybe you're just lazy. Maybe you're accustomed to having a mama or a daddy who did all the work for you, and you haven't grown up, you haven't matured enough, and you're more like a little child, and you think she's going to be your mom or he's going to be your daddy and fix your mess. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why people do this, which seems like little, but if it bothers you at all, if a spouse is bothered, you might be being selfish. And on the other hand, it's true too. Some people are so controlling and so they have such desirous need to have the house spotless that they're being selfish, that other people can't relax. They can't just, might say, live for a little bit. Let me take my socks off. I'll put them in the dirty clothes tomorrow morning or something. Let it be a few hours. We're asleep. Who cares? But that's the kind of stuff that you negotiate. Sometimes people, in our marriage, my own marriage, we negotiate stuff all the time. What's in it for me? What's in it for us? Well, we negotiate things. I don't prefer, and I give tons of examples, but Doing laundry. I don't mind doing laundry ever. I can do laundry from start to finish into the drawer. But if I had to choose, and we have talked about this, I choose, I prefer not to do a lot of detail things like the small things like socks or underwear or t-shirts have to fold. It takes a long time to do the little things. Because I'm such the big picture kind of guy, I'd rather do things that basically are easier and faster, like towels and sheets and whatever. Well, in general, not all the time, but in general, it is just in general, my wife tends to do that, and she might do all the laundry, and she'll do that. If I do the laundry, I might stick towards the big things, and she's fine with that, and she'll do the smaller things. That's not a big deal. It's not it. But we negotiated it. She don't like doing the dishes. Well, I don't really either, but I dislike it less than she does. So I do the dishes almost all the time. Almost all the time. I'm got a long list of stuff, I guess. We just we negotiate. Which one, like, I vacuum almost always if the floor is mopped or vacuumed just because I did it. Well, she doesn't like doing it much. Well, I'm fine with it. It's not my favorite thing, so we negotiate it. But those little things like, again, I try to ask what's in it for us. Does it help my wife? Well, I love the fact that she does blank. Maybe she cooks most of the food. Well, I love that fact. Well, I can tolerate taking out the trash more often because I don't have to do this. You just, negotiate it. Well, David, does that mean down the road that you can't ever change your mind? Of course you can change your mind. You don't get mad at the person if they change their mind. And we've talked about this, needs versus treats. Go back and listen to the one I talked about that when you talk about needs versus treats. And so it's my need to clean up my own mess and get my own laundry done. It's my dirty laundry. It's my dirty clothes. I've got to get it done. So if anyone does it in the world for me, it's just a treat. And the second someone stops doing my laundry, I'm not mad at them. It's my responsibility. I'm the one that's got to get it done. It's not their responsibility. So we find ways to negotiate to kind of treat each other. I'll do your laundry too, and I'll do your dishes along with my own dishes. That's a treat, and vice versa. Well, I'll cook food for you. That's more than food for me. That's great. You just negotiate it. If you have a spouse who doesn't like negotiating, who does not like to think what's in it for us, there's going to be a reason for that. Either they're a narcissist, maybe they're trying to, maybe they resent you and they're mad at you. Maybe there's other things going on. But if you're at that level where you cannot figure out and you can't have a discussion about this, you need to go talk to a therapist, talk to a counselor, talk to me, something to figure out why is it my spouse or maybe yourself just constantly makes decisions, or there's a pattern where they make decisions. They don't seem to think at all about me. It's like he just does stuff all the time. I never even picture. He's gone hang out with the fellas 3 nights a week and he didn't even ask my opinion, or she went and bought this and didn't even ask me at all, or she's out of town on a trip, or he went on vacation and didn't even tell me, or he went and got a car. I mean, why in the world would you do that? And we talk about it, it's like, I don't know. I mean, those are things worth talking to a counselor about, but at minimum, at first, ask your spouse, why is that? Why is it? So, and maybe first step is to have them listen to this podcast. We'll see. Maybe they'll say, who does this David guy think he is anyway? I don't know. I don't know who he is. So my first tip is just, at times you just need to negotiate, and that's okay. It doesn't matter how silly it feels or seems or whatever. The word silly is just a way to condemn you or judge you. So I would stop judging yourself and just get to work. It doesn't matter if it's, quote, silly to you or not. Don't condemn yourself. Don't judge yourself. Just do it. Figure it out. If it's an issue at all, you got to negotiate. That's it. Just negotiate. Just do it. Doesn't matter if you think it's a big deal. What about when it is a big deal? All right, well, let's negotiate a big deal. Okay, this is where I really have to usually work with in counseling, because at this level, typically people say, this is a really big deal. Okay, the first, and just a couple little steps here is very important. Make sure you have really genuinely heard your spouse's position. Make sure you have really genuinely heard your spouse's position. So here's how to make sure. Here is how to make sure you have really genuinely heard your spouse's. You repeat it to them, to him or her, and you wait for him or her to say that you get it. You do understand. Don't caricature your spouse's view. She or he is not an idiot or a child. So don't take the position of their parent or their boss. Make sure you've really genuinely heard the spouse's positions. When you repeat it back and the spouse goes, yes, you understand it, make sure you've got to get to that point. So what I hear you saying is, your view is X, Y, Z. Yes. And that's what you're trying to get at. And both people need to get there. Both people need to look at each other and be able to repeat back. The second thing is, remember, in this conversation, remember this, someone has to be an adult in the conversation. Someone has to be an adult, which means you can't have two people who are both just, and I'll talk about this more on the next habit on communication, but you can't have two children, two little babies vying for attention or yelling at each other or fussing or whatever. You can't do that. You have to have people who are, you've got to have at least someone in the conversation, and you can control that. Even if your spouse is not listening to this podcast, you can be the adult that says, hold on, let's get the relevant data, let's be calm about this. Someone's got to be an adult. Someone's got to keep thinking, what's in this for us? Okay, so that leads me to my third one, which is related to the adult. You've got to keep thinking, I'm not single anymore. What's in this for us? Which means you're going to try to find ways that your spouse gets to, quote, win as well. You're trying to find ways your spouse gets to win as well. That's it. So you're making sure you really understand your spouse's position. You're not caricaturing it. You're not taking the position of parent or boss. As soon as the person tells you what their view is, you're not jumping on to, well, that's just stupid. That's just blah. You're just like your daddy, or you're just like your mommy. You're just ugly. You're not, nope, you're not doing any of that. You're not at all talking down to your spouse. If you talk down to your spouse, there's something wrong with you, not your spouse. Your condescension is your problem, not your spouse's problem, because it came out of your mouth. And you are not married to an idiot or a child. You're married to another adult. So don't talk to them that way. And someone's got to be the adult in the conversation, which means you can't be a parent or boss. You've got to be the adult. Hopefully both of you are. And you're always thinking, what's in this for us? You're trying to find ways your spouse gets to win too. When you gather all that relevant data, sleep on it, pray, and wait. And you wait, ideally, you're waiting for peace. Now, you need to give up, a little tip on that one, give up trying to always have the perfect choice or the answer. You don't know the future, right? So expect to make some poor choices. You're going to make some bad ones. Just do it together. Just do it together. Make bad choices together. And then when you make the bad choice or something didn't work out, even if accidentally, you tried your best, you see, this is all because of you. No, don't be that person. Don't be that person who likes to use past failures as evidence for showing your superiority. No one likes that person, so don't be that person. If you gather the relevant data, you understand each other's point of view, you sleep on it, you pray, and you both decide we think this is the direction we should go. Maybe it's not perfect. Maybe these are two okay choices. Or maybe they're both good choices, but nothing is a phenomenal choice. Or they're both semi kind of bad choices, but it's the best you think you can do. Fine. But you went in it together. You were in it together, and that's what's healthy. That's what makes it a healthy couple. You don't have a spouse leaving the conversation thinking he or she doesn't give a rip about my point of view. He or she doesn't give a rip about whether or not it affects me. And that's what you have lost if your spouse thinks you don't ever care about the person. So you need to ask your spouse, do I have any patterns of not talking with you about something and it bothers you? Do I have any pattern of that? Do I have any patterns of not talking to you about something and it bothers you? Or ask your spouse, are there any topics about which we can do a better job of living out what's in it for us? Are there any topics at all? Is there any kind of thing that comes up in your mind or your heart, however you want to say it, where we can do a better job? And mature people, really mature people, healthy people, own it first. They go, you're right. I'm sorry, I will do a better job. Not, I'm going to try to do better, but I will do a better job. Not just, lip service, but you really will. You go to counseling, get the books, whatever you got to do to get better and figure out. So, David, David, I'm really struggling with this because I've been single for so long. I've been single for 10, 20, 30 years and got married late in life. Yeah, there's going to be a struggle. It doesn't matter if you were single for 50 years. If you're single for a year. And my point is, being single at all, there's a transition from being single to married. There's a transition. So give yourself some grace and ask for grace and mercy from your spouse too, and say, I'm sorry, it's going to take me some time. I'm so accustomed to only thinking for myself, what's for dinner or what's for breakfast, lunch, and what do I want to do, or where do I want to go? I didn't call people before. I didn't ask them. This is going to take some time. Yeah, great. That's all. Well, David, how do I change that? You would do this, what I'm doing in this whole podcast, which is you have to get to the habit. You have to, okay, I need to start thinking what's in it for us, and then start doing it. Get in the habit. You start asking little things here and there that might seem little. Hey, where do you want to go for dinner? What kind of bank do you want to use? Where do you want that couch? What side of the bed would you like to use to sleep on? I mean, and it's not always what the spouse wants. The point is you just give your input. Okay, well, I want this. Well, I want this. Where do you think this picture ought to go? I think it ought to go to here. I think it ought to go here. It sounds good. You just get in the habit of it. That's all. And you'll get over it. And if you don't, if you always keep thinking a single person, you need to get to the root of it. Why is it you can't get past whiffum to whiffoo? But I think you can. Don't give up. God bless you. See you next time. Well, the conversation isn't finished. You can always reach out to me on social media. Are you on Facebook? I am too. At Glimpse of the Kingdom. Glimpse of the Kingdom on Facebook. Be sure to like it and you can see updates there. Also, if you're on Twitter, check me out at Dr. D. Pendergrass, at Dr. D. Pendergrass, or at Glimpse the King, at Glimpse the King. And I try my best to respond to comments and questions on there as quickly as I can. If you want more, there are many more resources on the podcast and my blog. Go to my website, davidpendergrass.com, davidpendergrass.com, and you can see a full list of the podcast, and my blog is available for free. Are you active in a church right now? I'd be happy to come out to your church and do all kinds of classes and workshops there. Check out davidpendergrass.com, davidpendergrass.com for more information. And may God in His great grace give you even just a glimpse of His kingdom this week. See you next time.